A controversial bill to lower taxes for the bourbon industry is making its way through Frankfort.
And the founder of Kemper Furniture and a well-known Eastern Kentucky businessman has died. We'll look back at the life and legacy of Harold Kemper.
Plus, despite being firmly in mid-March, we're not done with the chilly air just yet. The breakdown ahead as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
Kentucky lawmakers are advancing a controversial bill to lower taxes for the bourbon industry.
Those for it say it's needed to preserve jobs and the state's signature industry. Those against it say loss of those taxes will hurt county governments and public protection.
WYMT's Phil Pendleton explains what the bill will do and what happened at the state capitol today.
Some sheriffs and counties where large bourbon distilleries operate fear what the future may bring.
The worst part is the relationship we have with our distilleries has always been so good, and that's going to go away.
Sheriff Milam fears that closeness will leave, along with a property tax for bourbon that some lawmakers want to do away with. House Bill 5 passed the Budget Committee 19-2, with 3 members passing. It would do away with the property tax distilleries pay.
Startups that produce bourbon must pay taxes on their aging barrels, unfinished product, for years before putting their first bottle of bourbon on the shelf.
If this bill does get through the legislature and it is signed into law by the governor, it would not take effect until 2026, and it would take place in increments, with the final tax cut coming in 2039. Fire officials say county departments also depend on the revenue that comes into the fire districts.
The cost of suiting up a firefighter these days is about $21,000. And I can go on and on and on how the costs have risen. Diesel fuel's through the roof.
Phasing out the barrel tax creates certainty that the industry needs to continue investing in our state. Future investment will drive growth in other revenue sources generated by the industry. New distilleries create more opportunities.
The bill was voted on in committee at 2 o'clock. Then the full House passed it several hours later, 59-40. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
So the bill still has to clear the Senate and be signed into law by the governor, and there are only 5 working days left during this year's session. Governor Andy Beshear made a visit to Prestonsburg this afternoon, announcing funding for several major infrastructure improvements across the Big Sandy. The governor, joined by local officials, presented funding for 29 different projects totaling more than $8 million today at the Mountain Arts Center. Funding for improvements that the governor says will help the region move forward.
And Eastern Kentucky deserves this type of investment. It'll help spawn job creation. It'll help move the region forward. And I think today you saw a united Eastern Kentucky.
Funding for local nonprofits, water, tourism, and law enforcement was also awarded. We have much more about this on our website, and we'll have a full report from the governor's event tonight at 11.
Nearly $300 million is slated for Eastern Kentucky's long-term flood recovery. Senator Mitch McConnell made an announcement today that the Department of Housing and Urban Development will provide communities funding through the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program. There are 20 counties in Eastern Kentucky eligible to receive funding. For more information about which counties will, find the story on WYMT.com.
School bus driver Wanda Bailey, Magoffin County Superintendent Chris Meadows, and Magoffin County Board of Education's Director of Transportation, Jeff Carpenter, were all named in a 4th lawsuit stemming from a November 2022 school bus crash. The complaint filed on February 28th claims Bailey operated the bus in a grossly negligent and reckless manner, which led to the passengers being injured. The complaint also says that prior to the crash, Meadows and Carpenter had received complaints about Bailey's driving, but ignored or failed to take proper corrective action or disciplinary action in regard to the complaints. 18 students and the bus driver were on board when the bus crashed. Now that our clocks have sprung forward and we've lost an hour of sleep, how does that impact our health? Family practice Dr. Jeff Fox says there are both positives and negatives when it comes to the impact the time change has on a person's health. For the positive side, Fox says when there's extra light in the evening, people may want to exercise more outside, making us healthier. For the negative, he says the change can mess with the body's cardiovascular system.
We increase daylight savings times when we jump forward. There is an increased risk of cardiovascular events. We've seen increased risk of stroke, increased risk of heart attack.
Fox says another impact could be increased sleepiness, since the extra light affects the sleep hormones that affect melatonin production. Well, now that we've heard about the medical perspective, what do you think about the time change?
We have a poll up on our website where we want you to share with us your opinion. Do you think we should do away with daylight savings time or not?
Well, we've already had several people vote, and there's the result so far. About 75% of you say yes, we should do away with daylight saving time. Approximately 25% say no. We'll have the final results later on Wednesday night, so you still have time to vote.
Count me in for year-round standard time, because I prefer all of those weather model runs to come in an hour earlier, but that's just me. Not really a great evening for a run of any kind outside. It's cold, it's cloudy, and we remain with that overcast. We even had some snow flakes move up Pine Mountain a little while earlier today. I-64 at Moorhead, we're watching some trying to scoot into that region. Not many making the ground right now. Mid-30s, we continue to see low to mid-30s region-wide. Williamsburg and Jackson already checking in with Wise at freezing. We're still an hour and a half away from sunset. We'll continue to see a few spotty flurries move through the region as we head through this evening, but many of us do stay dry, going zone by zone. Low to mid-20s out there as we head through tonight, and you see again those temperatures in those mid-20s. Details on when we warm up at least a little bit, that's in a few. Guys?
Thank you, Evan. Harold Kemper left a lasting impact on Eastern Kentucky, holding a host of different titles in the community and within his family. I spoke with friends and family today about his long-lasting legacy. Harold Kemper was known as a pillar in the Leslie County community.
He was just an amazing man. He's a hard worker, loved to serve his community.
Serving his community in numerous ways, even establishing the first Leslie County Fire Department.
Well, he had a heart for the fire departments, a true heart.
Serving as fire chief, director of the Leslie County Emergency Management, and interim judge exec. He also eventually founded a furniture store many know as Kemper Furniture.
He just taught us children to have a strong work ethic. And when we worked with him, it just seemed like each one of us had a different talent and a different role.
Harold was married to his wife Edna for 67 years, raising 5 kids and a host of grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
With my mom, it was a match made in heaven, a love at first sight, one true love type stuff.
The pair loved spending their winters in Florida, but always made their way back to Kentucky. Harold's friends say he always thought of them when he got home.
He'd always come in, bring us some fish and fry it up for us, and let us have fresh fish from Florida. Occasionally, he would make a peanut butter pie, and it was one of his dishes that he made, so we enjoyed that. It was just a great time.
But people who knew him say it's his love for the Lord that stood out the most.
His love for God was very evident in his life, the most important thing in his life.
He was a Gideon. He served as a chaplain in Leslie County.
Leaving a legacy in all that he did.
That he is a true patriarch because he started with nothing, no guidance, no fault to his own, and he made a wonderful life for himself and his family.
The family is receiving friends this evening at Wolf & Sons Funeral Home in Leslie County until 9 p.m. and the funeral service will be at the funeral home as well at 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Today marks 5 years since Pikeville police officer Scotty Hamilton died in the line of duty, shocking the region. WYMT's Buddy Forbes shares how, even in death, Hamilton's story lives on.
Officer Scotty Hamilton was shot and killed tonight in the line of duty.
It was devastating. In some ways, it feels like it was yesterday.
Long after the candles burned out and his body was laid to rest.
5 years it doesn't seem like it's been 5 years that we lost Scotty.
Scotty Hamilton's story continues to echo through the Pikeville area.
He wanted to serve the public. He wanted to do right and help people.
The story of a hero shot in the line of duty, killed on what was supposed to be a routine call while protecting the people he loved.
Scotty wanted to go get people's medicine when it was bad weather and take it to people that couldn't get out, shut-ins and things. He wanted to help people load groceries in their car. He wanted to check on neighborhoods.
His smile forever imprinted on the officers he left behind.
I remember the look on his face. I still can see him smiling, that he tried so hard.
And his sacrifice forever inscribed on the fabric of the future generations.
She needs to know that her dad was a hero, and heroes that are honored are never forgotten. So that's what we do with Scotty.
As the city he died protecting continues to honor its fallen hero.
It's like a shrine to him, a memorial to him inside here, so we'll never forget, which we can't. We're not ever going to forget.
Still sharing, still serving, still standing for Scotty. In Pikeville, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
The officers visited Hamilton's grave this afternoon with his parents, saying the weather cooperated with them for a short time, allowing them to take a picture together at 111, which is Hamilton's retired unit number.
Well, coming up, yet more chilly air and even some wintry weather in the forecast. Breaking that down coming right up. Plus,
A Letcher County daycare damaged by the July flood celebrated its grand reopening today. Why child care facilities are so crucial after the flood.